Installing a hidden camera is supposed to give you peace of mind. But sometimes, it shows you things you were never meant to see. In tonight's video, you'll hear 5 terrifying true stories from people who installed hidden cameras in their homes, and what they discovered still haunts them. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and ask yourself, would you dare check your own footage? Story 1. My name is Brandon, and I never thought I'd be the kind of person who installs cameras in their own home. I live alone. Or, at least, I thought I did. I work remotely, so I spend most of my time at home. It's a small, one-story house on the edge of town. Nothing fancy, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, an open living room and kitchen. Quiet neighborhood. No crime to speak of. A good place for someone who likes solitude. But everything changed last year in mid-October. It started with something small. One morning, I woke up and noticed my bedroom door was open. I always sleep with it closed. Always. At first, I thought maybe I got up during the night to use the bathroom and forgot. But there was this nagging feeling. You know the one, when something is just off. I brushed it off. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe I was stressed from work. But then, 3 days later, it happened again. And this time, I knew for a fact I hadn't left the room. That same week, I noticed other small things. A glass that was in the sink ended up on the counter. A light in the hallway was on when I woke up, one I never use. I told myself I must have forgotten. That maybe I was just distracted. But the feeling wouldn't go away. Then, one night, I was watching TV around 11 p.m. when I heard a sound coming from the kitchen. A short, metallic clink, like a spoon dropping. I paused the TV. Silence. I walked to the kitchen. No one. Nothing. But the drawer that holds the silverware was open by 2 inches. And I swear, I remembered closing it earlier. That's when I decided to buy the cameras. They weren't anything fancy. Just a basic home security set, 4 small cameras with motion detection and night vision, all feeding to a mobile app. I set one up in the living room facing the front door, another in the kitchen, one in the hallway, and one just outside my bedroom. I didn't want to feel paranoid, but I told myself, if nothing happens, I'll delete the footage and move on. The first 2 nights? Nothing. I even laughed at myself. See? You're just being weird, Brandon. But on the 3rd night, everything changed. I woke up at 3:12 a.m. to the sound of movement, slow, soft steps outside my bedroom door. The kind of steps that are careful. Deliberate. I froze. I didn't move. I waited to hear them again, but there was nothing. Total silence. So I grabbed my phone and opened the camera app. The live feed from the hallway camera was black. Offline. So was the kitchen one. Only the living room feed was working, and it was blurry, glitching. But for a split second, I saw something move on the left side of the screen. It looked like a shoulder. A figure. Just passing through. I sat there in bed, my heart racing, trying to convince myself it was a glitch. A delay in the app. A shadow. But I couldn't sleep after that. The next morning, I pulled the SD card from the cameras to check the recordings on my laptop. Most of it was empty static, like it had been tampered with. But in the hallway cameras folder, there was one file. One clip. Timestamp, 3:12 a.m. It starts dark. Then, slowly, a shape appears in the frame. A person. Not just a blur, not a shadow, a man. He's wearing dark clothes, no shoes, and his hair is messy, like he hasn't washed it in weeks. He walks past my bedroom door, and then turns back. He stares directly into the camera. Not surprised. Not curious. Like he knew it was there. And then he smiles. I called the police immediately. They checked the house, every inch. Nothing. No signs of forced entry, no fingerprints. All doors and windows were locked. They searched the attic, the crawl space. Nothing. They suggested maybe the footage was faked, that someone had hacked into the cameras. But the footage was stored locally, not in the cloud. And I never shared access with anyone. I stopped sleeping after that. I kept the lights on. I checked the locks every hour. I even replaced the cameras with a more expensive system. A week later, I got a call from the company I bought the cameras from. A technician was reviewing error logs from several devices sold in my area, and he said my unit had strange internal resets. Specifically, one camera had gone offline twice, each time around 3 a.m. He asked if I had noticed anything odd. I didn't answer, because I had already moved out. I live in a new apartment now, in a building with neighbors on every side. No more houses. No more silence. But sometimes, around 3 a.m., I still wake up. And every now and then, I think about checking the footage. But I never do. Because I don't think I could handle seeing that face again. As terrifying as Brandon's discovery was, he's not the only one who thought he was alone. This next story comes from someone who installed a camera, because she no longer trusted the person living under the same roof. Story 2. My name is Sierra, and I never really believed in supernatural things. I'm the kind of person who needs proof, facts, logic, evidence. But what happened to me changed that. Because I got my evidence. And I regret ever looking for it. In 2022, after a rough breakup, I let my younger brother move in with me. He was going through a bad time, needed a place to stay for a while. I didn't hesitate. I had a guest room and figured it would be temporary. The first few weeks were fine. He was quiet, helped with rent, cooked sometimes. But then I started to notice changes in his behavior. He'd wake up in the middle of the night and just stand in the hallway. I caught him staring into the living room once, around 2 a.m., just standing there, barefoot, not blinking. When I asked what he was doing, he looked confused. Said he didn't remember getting out of bed. At first, I thought maybe it was sleepwalking. Maybe stress. But things escalated. One night, I heard whispering coming from the kitchen. It was around 3:10 a.m. I peeked out of my bedroom and saw him sitting at the table, in the dark, talking. But no one was there. I couldn't make out the words, but his tone was low and serious, like he was having a full conversation with someone. When I asked him the next day, he said I must have dreamed it. But I hadn't. So I did what any cautious sister would do. I bought a discreet security camera and installed it in the hallway, hidden inside a fake smoke detector. I didn't tell him. I just wanted to make sure everything was okay. The first 2 nights? Nothing. Then, on the 3rd night, I got a motion alert at 3:08 a.m. I was already asleep, but the app saved the clip. What I saw made my skin go cold. My brother walked out of his room, slowly, barefoot as usual. He stopped in front of the hallway closet. And then he began talking. But his mouth wasn't moving. His body was still. Perfectly still. But the audio picked up whispering. From somewhere inside the closet. And then, he laughed. But it didn't sound like him. The laugh was deeper, distorted, almost doubled, like it had an echo, even though the mic didn't pick up any room noise. Then he opened the closet door, and stood inside it for exactly 6 minutes. No movement. Just standing. When he came out, he walked back to his room. Still expressionless. I watched the clip at least 10 times. Trying to see if it was some kind of prank. But it wasn't. Because when I checked the closet the next day, I found something wedged between the floorboards. A folded piece of paper, yellow with age. On it was a single sentence, written in jagged pencil. He comes when the mind is quiet. I confronted my brother. Told him about the camera, the video, the note. He didn't deny it. He just got pale and asked me one thing. Have you heard him yet? That night, I didn't sleep. Because at 3:12 a.m., I heard it. A low whisper, from inside my closet this time. I moved out the next morning. I haven't spoken to my brother since. But last week, I got a notification from that same camera. It's still active. I never disconnected it. Out of habit, I opened the app. The hallway was empty, except for one thing. The closet door was open, and something was standing just behind it. Sometimes, we install cameras to catch what's outside. But the real nightmare might already be inside. Hayden found that out the hard way. Story 3. My name is Hayden, and until last winter, I never really worried about home security. I live in a small town, not the kind of place you'd expect problems. Quiet neighbors, no real crime to speak of, everyone knows each other. But I started installing cameras after I found boot prints in the snow one morning. They led from the woods behind my house to my back door. But the weird part? There were no prints going back. Just one set, coming in. I checked the yard. Nothing was missing. No damage. But it was enough to make me nervous. So I ordered a set of outdoor cameras. One for the front porch, one for the driveway, and one facing the backyard and tree line. They worked fine for a few nights. No strange activity. I figured it might have been a hunter or just someone lost. Then, about a week later, I started hearing noises in the house. Late at night. After 2 a.m. They weren't loud, more like soft tapping. Sometimes from the hallway. Sometimes from the attic. And always followed by the same thing. Silence. I checked the attic twice. Nothing up there but insulation and old boxes. No signs of animals, no droppings, no entry points. Still, the noises continued. Every few nights, same time, same sound. So I added one more camera. This time, inside the house. I mounted it high on a shelf in the living room, mostly to monitor the hallway at night. It had night vision and a motion alert system. I figured if anything moved, I'd catch it. I did. But it wasn't what I expected. The first alert came at 2:42 a.m. I opened the app half asleep, expecting to see the hallway empty. Instead, I saw something move at the bottom right corner of the screen. A shadow. Low to the ground. Moving across the floor on all fours. I sat up in bed. Rewatched the clip. It wasn't an animal. It looked like a person. Crawling. The way it moved. It didn't seem natural. The limbs were too long. The elbows bent outward. And the head. It never turned toward the camera. But I could feel that it knew it was being watched. I ran to the living room. Nothing there. Hallway empty. Front and back doors still locked. I checked the rest of the house. Every closet. Every corner. Found nothing. But when I came back to the living room, the camera had been knocked over. I didn't hear it fall. It didn't record the fall. It just went black. The next morning, I downloaded the footage frame by frame. And in one single frame, just before the black screen, you can see a hand reaching toward the lens. It's pale. Thin. With fingers way too long. And in the reflection of the glass, there's another face behind it. Smiling. I haven't been able to explain what I saw. I moved out less than a month later. But sometimes I wonder if it came from outside, or if it was already inside, long before I ever noticed. You expect strange behavior from strangers. But when it comes from someone quiet, polite, even grandmotherly, it becomes something far more chilling. Emily's story is next. My name is Emily, and most people don't believe me when I tell this story. I was 22 when I moved into a shared house during my second year of college. The rent was unbelievably cheap, and the reason was that the house already had a full-time resident, an elderly woman named Miss Agnes, who owned the place. She lived in a small back unit with a separate entrance. But we shared the kitchen and the living room. At first, she seemed fine. Quiet, polite, a little strange, but harmless. I rarely saw her during the day. She mostly stayed in her room. But over time, I started noticing odd things. Food would be in different places than I remembered. The TV remote kept disappearing. And once, I came home to find my bedroom door slightly open, when I was absolutely certain I had locked it. I asked Miss Agnes about it. She acted surprised and said I must have forgotten. But I hadn't. Even more unsettling were the sounds. Late at night, I would hear barefoot steps in the hallway. Very slow. Very soft. When I checked, there was never anyone there. That's when I bought the cameras. I ordered 3 small nanny cams disguised as phone chargers. I placed one in my bedroom pointed at the door, one in the living room, and one in the kitchen. They were motion activated and saved recordings straight to my phone. The first few nights were uneventful. Then, on a Thursday at 3:03 a.m., I got a motion alert from my bedroom. I watched the clip the next morning, and what I saw made my skin crawl. The door opened slowly. Miss Agnes walked in, wearing a long white nightgown. Barefoot. She didn't turn on the lights. She didn't make a sound. She walked right up to my bed, and just stood there. She didn't move. Didn't say a word. Didn't touch anything. She stood there for 4 minutes and 12 seconds, staring down at me while I slept. Then, she turned and left, leaving the door slightly open behind her. I never woke up. I confronted her that same day. She acted completely confused. Claimed she had no idea what I was talking about. Suggested I was dreaming or misinterpreting something. I didn't believe her. So that night, I placed my phone on my desk and left it recording audio, just in case. At 3:11 a.m., she came in again. This time, she whispered something. Her voice was shaky, almost like a child's. "You don't remember, but you've seen me from the inside." I went straight to the police the next morning. I showed them the video and the audio. They took it seriously. But before they could act, Miss Agnes vanished. She left everything behind, her clothes, her phone, her purse. The police broke into her back unit. Inside, they found all the mirrors covered with bed sheets, dozens of newspaper clippings about missing persons, and in the center of the room, an old VHS camcorder on a tripod, aimed at her bed. Beside it were tapes, labeled with dates going back more than 30 years. Some from long before I was born. To this day, I don't know who she really was, or why she watched me. But sometimes, just before I fall asleep, I have brief flashes, like memories that don't belong to me. I'm lying in a bed I don't recognize, staring at a cracked ceiling, and someone is standing beside me, watching. Sometimes, it's not you who sees the danger. Sometimes, it's a child. And when they start describing things no one else can see, you'd better start watching closely. Here's Tyler's story. Story 5. My name is Tyler, and if this story doesn't make you believe something's wrong with this world, nothing will. About a year ago, my sister asked me for a big favor. She and her husband were going through a rough patch and needed a few weeks apart. She had no one to leave her daughter with, so she asked if her 6-year-old could stay with me for a while. I live alone, work from home, and have a spare room. So I said yes. Her name is Lily. She's sweet, quiet, and more mature than most kids her age. But from the first night, she didn't want to sleep in the guest room. At first, I thought it was just nerves. New place, new routine. She said the room felt cold, that someone was breathing too loud. I told her it was just the pipes or maybe the wind. But every night, it got worse. She'd wake up crying. Say there was a man standing in the corner. She described him with disturbing detail. He doesn't move his mouth, but I can still hear him. He has eyes like TV static. Creepy, right? But I still thought it was just nightmares. That is, until I saw her standing in the hallway at 2 a.m., talking to the corner, whispering. The next morning, I installed a hidden baby cam in her room. Not to invade her privacy, just to ease my mind. It was disguised as a stuffed animal, placed on a shelf facing the entire room. It started recording automatically whenever there was movement or sound. That night, everything seemed fine. Lily went to sleep around 9:30. I checked the feed around midnight. She was out cold. But at 3:14 a.m., the camera sent a motion alert. I opened the app. The video started with Lily still sleeping. Then, a figure appeared in the corner. Not walked in. Appeared. 1 second the corner was empty, the next, it wasn't. The shape was tall. Not shadowy, solid. But no facial details. Like it was covered in something smooth, gray, and tight. The head was slightly tilted, and the arms were long, too long. It didn't move. It just stood there. And the camera started picking up a faint sound. A whisper. Backwards. Like a voice being played in reverse. Lily stirred in her bed. Then she sat up. Looked directly at the corner. And she said, "Go back. He can see you now." The figure didn't move. It just slowly vanished. Like static dissolving into air. Lily laid back down and fell asleep instantly. I didn't. I stayed up all night, watching that clip on repeat. The next day, I asked her what she meant by "he can see you now." She just shrugged and said, "He doesn't like being seen. That's why he only comes when no one's watching." That same afternoon, I called my sister and told her she needed to come get Lily. I deleted the footage. I shouldn't have, but I panicked. I even got rid of the stuffed animal cam. And for a while, everything felt normal again. But last month, I bought a new couch for the living room. When I pulled the old one out, something fell from behind it. A small scrap of paper. Torn. A child's drawing. It was Lily's handwriting. It said, "He said you shouldn't have looked." Sometimes, the camera doesn't lie. It simply shows us what's been there all along. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. If you've ever installed a camera and captured something you can't explain, share your story in the comments. And if these stories kept you on edge, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Because the next true horror might already be recording in your home.